Yeah.
So can the audience not see us right now?
No, I see a recording button and I see 44, lucky 44 number of viewers.
Guys,
oh, we're
you are
on.
live. You should start the panel.
Oh.
Thanks, Eric. The reason I agreed to do this was you were going to handle all of the logistics.
Rolling.
Wonderful. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the panel focused on national scale data science education efforts. I'm Meredith Lee, the Chief Technical Advisor at UC Berkeley in the Division of Computing, Data Science, and Society. I've personally been participating and supporting this workshop since the very first one, so it's so great to see it grow over the last 4 years. Today, we're fortunate to have representatives for this awesome panel who have been coordinating various programs and initiatives seeking to create synergies across institutions at the regional and national and even global level. Each speaker has prepared a 10 to 15-minute talk, and we welcome everyone to type questions in the chat whenever convenient. There's the hop-in session chat that we'll be monitoring, as well as the Q&A tab where you can upvote and sort questions. We'll save at least 20 minutes at the end for interactive discussion. Barring any technical difficulties, you'll have 4 awesome speakers one by one, starting with Talitha Washington from Atlanta University Center. Dr. Washington is the inaugural director of the Atlanta University Center Data Science Initiative that facilitates and coordinates data science research, activities, and programs across 4 HBCUs: Clark Atlanta University, Morehouse College, Morehouse School of Medicine, and Spelman College, and the AUC Robert W. Woodruff Library to increase the number of African Americans with expertise in data science. She is also a professor of mathematics at Clark Atlanta University and a fellow of the American Mathematical Society and the Association for Women in Mathematics. Welcome, Talitha. We're so excited to have you here today. Let's try the screen share.
You got it. So I'm assuming you can see my screen?
Beautiful.
All right, wonderful. Okay, so as she said, my name is Talitha Washington, and I think the theme is networks to expand data science. So the Atlanta University Center is situated in a network here in Atlanta, Georgia. So the Data Science Initiative actually sits in the Atlanta University Center Consortium, which is a consortium of multiple institutions. So we work across Clark Atlanta, Morehouse School of Medicine, Spelman College, and Morehouse College, and also the AUC Robert Woodruff Library. And we were funded by Sea Grant from the United Health Group. So, you know, when you think your day is hard and hectic, I respond to 4 different institutions. I respond to 4 different provosts, presidents. They're all wonderful and great, but it always makes for every day to be lively. In August of 2020, I assumed the role here. Before I was a program officer at the National Science Foundation, and I was at Howard University. So currently I'm a full professor of math at Clark Atlanta. And for Atlanta University, the motto there is I'll find a way or make one, which is really the precedence for our initiative here. So the Atlanta University Center is really a cradle for the civil rights movement. Back in the day, the students led a protest, an appeal for human rights back in the 1960s. And on the right-hand side, that's the young Julian Bond, who's a graduate of Morehouse College, that led the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee down here in Atlanta. So our consortium, the students here have really been active in social justice moving forward. And we built the Data Science Initiative and the way we do our education based off of that. Our institutions are co-located in downtown Atlanta. And the purpose of the initiative really is to facilitate and coordinate data science research activities, programs, education across the institutions to really increase the number of African Americans with expertise in data science. So we have 2 goals. One is to develop talent, and the other one is to create new knowledge. And we do this through our curriculum, through our research, and through our engagement. So just a little bit about our curriculum and how are we expanding data science education. When I came, they said, we want a data science minor like yesterday. It's like, well, academia moves a little slower than yesterday. So I assembled a data science minor team across the institution. So we have members from Clark Atlanta, the library, Morehouse School of Medicine, and also Spelman to refine and develop an AUC-wide data science framework for this minor. And with the understanding that each institution now has submitted a proposal to their home institutions, and we're in the process of fine-tuning those. But it's very important to have people from across the institutions there and present and different departments. It took a little while for us to find a common language, but we whittled it down to 6 learning outcomes that we identified for our minor. One outcome is math stat, another one is programming, modeling, data curation, ethics, and communication. The team really had a lot of communication around ethics and communication. Some programs put them together, but they thought that they were very important, that they should stand on their own. And so really this was an AUC-wide network activity to develop and refine this minor that aims to prepare our students to obtain, process, analyze, and present complex data, including data related to the African diaspora. So we are HBCUs. The B stands for Black, historically Black colleges and universities. And so the mission of our schools really was born out of the lack of access to education for African Americans in our country. And so I felt that our data science minor should reflect our mission. And our first course in this minor is a course entitled Data in the African Diaspora. And that's spearheaded by Dr. Jerry Volsey, I think, who spoke here yesterday. And so that course uses data sets that are related to those of the African diaspora to teach data science concepts, to develop data science thinking. And so that's our first course. It's a zero prereq course that is accessible to all undergraduates. So we're really excited about that. When I first came, I said, well, what tools do people have to use data science? And it's kind of crickets in a room. So we developed it and we worked together and we networked, use the word networked, with our partners at SAP and Coca-Cola to create this virtual computer lab that's being hosted at the library. And so they did fund it, but they also went with us to the meetings and asked the technical questions, looked at the prototype, how it would be used. And they've been our ongoing partners as we move forward. So leveraging our networks with our friends at SAP and Coca-Cola has helped us create this lab. We also expand our networks at a broader scale by hosting a seminar series, and these are posted on our Facebook and YouTube, that really talks about different aspects of data science. Anywhere from, I'll highlight the one from March, it was how to build a degree program in data science. That's a really good one to watch. They're all good, but that one's good too for this topic. Anywhere to data in the Black vote to COVID. So that's a way we expand our network to do education of data science, not only traditional way, but then also at a more, I guess, non-traditional, outside of the classroom sort of way. This past spring, we held our inaugural W.B. Du Bois Data Science Symposium that featured our faculty and staff here in the AUC. And all the talks are on YouTube. But it was really important for the faculty to kind of see each other and for them to make connections with other people around data science. And Du Bois was a faculty member at Atlanta University here who did a lot of inaugural work in data visualizations. We also funded a mini grant awards this summer where folks will be developing the curriculum, anywhere from new courses to new modules to research to summer programs. And so one of the grants that we funded was to take the data in the African diaspora course and to develop that at Morehouse. So Morehouse is all male. So they want to take that course, but they want to have data sets that center around the African American male experience for their course. So I'm really excited to see what will come from these mini grants this summer. We also have workshops to help our faculty along with gaining skills or acquiring new knowledge or just propelling the research forward in data science. And we're hoping that they either use the knowledge gains to enhance either their teaching or their research. The summer programs, they're coming quick. I can't believe we're almost to the end of June. It's kind of crazy. We have a pre-freshman summer experience that'll be a week long in July that will allow the students to gain access, gain an first experience in data science. And we're hoping that will then lead for them to pursue more data science after they enroll in the fall semester. So that's a way we're kind of expanding that data science education to a pre-freshman summer experience. We also have on the other end a post-bac program in open source software development that was funded by the Sloan Foundation. So that's going on right now. We have 33 participants in the program that are receiving training, and they'll also be helped with job placement. But we also have a track where we have 6 faculty who will be developing curriculum around open source software development. So we're really excited about that project. And that's with Dr. Kidis Gaucher at Morehouse. So this summer we have a number of research programs that we've supported. 1 o'clock Atlanta that focuses on data science training, research, and education. There's one pillar, one for students where they gain some data science skills, but then they work on a research project for the faculty. But then there's also a faculty group where they're also getting data science training, and they will also work on projects. So it's a neat kind of hybrid where everybody can learn together sort of thing. And at Morehouse School of Medicine, they have a summer bridge program in biotechnology and bioentrepreneurship. And they're looking at health data science and upskilling students in that arena so they can then pursue graduate studies in health data science. So for the data science initiative, our leadership broad network here, we are governed by the Council of Chief Academic Officers across the institutions. And then we also have a faculty advisory board that advises us so we can go and say, hey, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? Which direction should we go? How should we do this? And so the faculty advisory board has been a really great resource in helping guiding and stewarding the program. And our faculty come from across the disciplines, across the institutions. We're a team of 4. So I'm the director, and Jerry Volsey is the deputy director. Bettina Garter's administrative director, Tommy Taylor's our communication specialist. And we're all committed to advancing data science, AI, ML, all the L's, and cybersecurity that addresses both ethics and bias with a focus on topics that impact Black America. So what are we working on? Well, most times I think Du Bois is kind of looking at us to make sure that we're kind of moving things forward. So we're still developing staff, figuring out how to do this thing called fundraising, infrastructure, degree programs, getting the minor complete, and then new degree programs beyond that. And faculty hires, we'll be hiring new faculty this fall. So exciting. And so, we're busy at work, and it's a lot of fun. Because again, we're in this ecosystem, so different things evolve when you do not live in an academic institution. So we live alongside the institutions, not inside. So we kind of have a different relationship with the schools, but we really are here to serve the schools and to help them either advance on the educational research fronts in data science. And it's been a really rewarding experience and super fun so far. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. If I can find the button, I don't know. This mouse is kind of wonky.
Thank you so much, Talitha, for sharing the range of different programs and the thinking behind the design and development. I'm sure the folks on the line will appreciate the work to find a common language and bring in feedback and build out and hire new folks. The second speaker that we have today also knows a bit about bridging networks across the region and nation. Next up, we have Dr. Sarah Stone from University of Washington and the West Big Data Innovation Hub. Dr. Stone is Executive Director at the University of Washington eScience Institute, the campus hub for data-intensive discovery. She also directs the UW Data Science for Social Good, or DSSG program, which is amazing, and partners student fellows from across the country with project leads from academia, government, and nonprofits to work on focused, collaborative projects for societal benefit. Sarah was also the former co-executive director and a current co-PI for the West Big Data Innovation Hub. Sarah, let's try sharing your screen.
Great. Thank you so much, Meredith. Let me see. Okay, is that working?
Looks good.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to join this panel today. I'm really pleased to be able to share some activities and engagement opportunities with you, actually from the 4 national NSF Big Data Hubs. As Meredith mentioned, my name is Sarah Stone, and I'm the Executive Director for the eScience Institute. at the University of Washington. And I just wanted to note this is one of the 3 PI institutions alongside UC Berkeley and UC San Diego for the West Big Data Hub. So I'd like to start just to provide some context and background about the big data hubs. And since participants in this workshop hail from each of these regions, I will highlight work from each of the hubs that is focused on data science education, just knowing that this is a piece of what the hubs do, which go across a broad range of activities and sectors. The 4 big data innovation hubs, which are the Midwest, the Northeast, the South, and the West, were established by NSF in 2015, with one in each of the 4 census regions of the United States. The hubs are a national network of academic, industry, government, and nonprofit partners who engage in communities, share resources, and build partnerships to really harness data science to address societal and scientific challenges. The regional network of each of these hubs really permits for local network building and allows for a focus on regional issues. But then through collaborative activities and partnerships across the 4 hubs, we can play kind of a national role in building out and sustaining a national big data innovation ecosystem. So I'll spend the first part of this talk going into some of the activities across each of the hubs. And so I'm going to start with the South Big Data Hub and highlight a couple of their programs in the data science education space. So the South Hub is the host for the Data Science Education and Workforce Working Group, which is an open monthly professional community. And so this is, while it is hosted out of the South, it's open to people from across the country and really designed for data science educators and program leaders, very much this audience, to talk about and hear from other programs around the country, as well as to learn about resources for connecting with data, tools, industry partners, and research. They focus on a variety of different topics, highlighting existing programs and also talking about things like evaluation approaches for data science teaching. The second program highlighted here is a previous initiative, but that continues to be available and very pertinent to the discussions here today, called Keeping Data Science Broad. And this was a cross-hub initiative that was led out of the South that brought together the larger Big Data Hub community and stakeholders to explore pathways for keeping data science education broadly inclusive. This really provided a platform for missing voices in data science education, particularly from MSIs, HBCUs, and HSIs. This initiative included a series of 3 webinars, which are available, and an in-person workshop, which resulted in a really wonderful report called Keeping Data Science Broad, Negotiating the Digital and Data Divide Among Higher Education Institutions. Next, I'd like to highlight some of the efforts from the Northeast Big Data Hub. The Northeast Hub has multiple national and international programs focused on data science education. The Northeast Student Data Corps is a community developed initiative that provides resources and opportunities for students to really learn about data science. And this has a focus on underserved institutions, students, and communities. It was created by a founding committee of 24 leaders and students across sectors, so including academia, industry, and nonprofits. And they've hosted some very successful data science career panels, which have attracted people, kind of a global audience, and really highlighted different types of career paths in data science. They're also using this data science student corps as a mechanism for establishing chapters. So regional and local universities are invited to think about hosting one of these student chapters. And again, not just within the Northeast, but more broadly across the United States. Another program, the Data Science Resource Repository, is a free, open online list of data science resources for educators and learners of all ages. There's some really fun resources here, like example, Big Data for Little Kids, which is for grades younger than many of us typically think about, although I've got some students in these grades at home. So we may think about it in that capacity. So for grades 4 through 8, and then all the way up through high school programs, and highlighting existing courses like the Data 8 course that you're learning about in the context of this workshop. Just a note that student volunteers are very active in these programs, and there's opportunities to volunteer. You can see the link here to become a REAL volunteer. REAL stands for Research Experience and Leadership Opportunities for Students. Okay. Next up is the Midwest Hub. The Midwest Hub has a number of data science education programs with the general goals of building community and instructional capacity in the region. Most are really targeted toward early career researchers and students, particularly those at under-resourced schools, including minority serving institutions, tribal colleges and universities, and community colleges. The Hub has been actively involved in developing a network of student groups that are focused on data science to help them develop best practices and provide opportunities for collaboration and networking. Most of these programs are done in partnership with the Hub stakeholder communities through what's called the Community Development and Engagement Program, which helps to incubate and support these new initiatives and to help them get extended more broadly to new audiences. Want to make sure to note this program is currently open for the next round of proposals, which are due by July 5th. So if you're located in the Midwest region, they really encourage you to consider proposing a project. And you can see the contact information here for more information. And I'll share that again at the conclusion of this talk. So I gave you a bit of a flavor for what's going on in the other hubs across the region. And you probably also notice that many of these activities, while they are happening to some extent at a regional level, they have a national impact as well. So now I'd like to move on and highlight a few of the activities we're doing in the West Hub. So we as a community in the West have really focused on exploring and defining the space of using data responsibly, really understanding the inherent importance of bringing a diverse community of practitioners to the table. With this in mind, and Meredith mentioned this up front, the UW eScience Institute, in collaboration with the West Hub, has hosted a Data Science for Social Good program each summer since 2015. Every fall, we have a broad call for proposals open to projects originating in academia, government, nonprofits, and industry. For selected projects, we form project teams that include the project proposer, data science mentors, and student fellows who are selected from a pool of very competitive applicants from universities and colleges across the country. Since 2015, we've supported 19 research projects and more than 80 student fellows. And students, again, they represent universities in these 4 hub regions. We just launched this program this week, and so it's always one of the most exciting times of the year to see the students, albeit virtually, coming together to work on really exciting projects. We intentionally create disciplinarily diverse teams, and training in ethical data science and stakeholder relationships are hallmarks of our program. Running this program over the past 6 years, we've truly seen a proliferation of data for good efforts, which are now pervasive in academia, industry, and the public sector, as I'm sure you all are aware. In that vein, the West Hub has been supporting a Data for Good Organizers Network, which is an evolving community of practice focused on sharing lessons learned and guiding other organizations in creating these types of Data for Good programs. This network has met monthly since July of 2020 and now includes 11 different programs distributed across the 4 regional hubs. 11 active programs, and then you'll see a number of programs, additional programs listed here that are in the planning stages of building out a Data for Good type program. So what do we mean by a Data for Good program? So there's some common characteristics that we're thinking about for the types of programs that are involved in this community of practice. So these would be university-based programs that involve project teams and have the dual goals of educating students and having a social impact. There's deep integration of stakeholders in these projects, and they're focused on using data science techniques in order to advance the project. And based on, so the programs that I mentioned on the previous slide are either have existing Data for Good programs or are building out these programs. And based on these ongoing conversations, we've actually been creating a guide to surface the common challenges and better practices of these programs, really pooling and sharing our resources and to map out decision points for organizations who are interested in designing these types of programs. This guide will provide the basis for a workshop that will be running early next year for organizations interested in starting similar programs, and the guide will be made publicly available later this summer. As you just saw, we're working to support the scaling of Data for Good programs, which provide this kind of hands-on data science training for students and expose them to data science career opportunities in the public sector. Another way in which we scale data science training is through our ongoing partnership with the Carpentries. The Carpentries is an international organization focused on teaching foundational coding and data science skills to researchers. And by leveraging the train the trainers model that the Carpentries has pioneered, we've been able to support the certification of over 30 Carpentries instructors distributed across 9 states. And we will continue to support these types of trainings over the next couple of years. We also, this just happened for the second time last week, but we collaborated with the HSI STEM Hub to run a data science training and collaboration workshop. And this was really to address a similar need to what you're seeing here, but this to help surface and support pedagogical training and how to teach hands-on keyboards types of skills. And so this workshop covered topics that are similar probably to a lot of the things that are happening in this workshop, but also and built out things like how to go beyond the standard Carpentries format, integrating data science modules into existing classes, teaching data science ethics, cloud computing for the classroom, and networking activities. And we anticipate continuing to work with the HSI STEM Hub to offer these types of workshops. Lastly, I just wanted to note one of our major activities that is led out of the San Diego Supercomputing Center concentrates on the FAIR principles. FAIR is kind of a sticky acronym that means findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. This activities, or this series of activities, is more than just FAIR. It actually encompasses what came before FAIR. When we think about things that are interrelated, like research data management, and other developmental models, such as the CARE principles. One of the major aims of these workshops, and that we're really emphasizing, is how to integrate these practices, have them sort of baked into data science, and to research computing practices, and to help these proliferate across the data science space. With that, I will wrap up and just provide the contact information for the 4 hubs and just encourage you to engage with the activities that resonate with you at each of the hubs and to see what your hub is up to, and to also look for ways that the hubs can join together and at the national level to share out what you're doing. So thanks very much, and I will, let me see, stop screen share and turn it back to you, Meredith.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Sarah, for sharing these collaborations and social good programs and activities. I know some of the themes I heard during the last 2 presentations are going to be also highlighted with our next speaker, Micaela Parker from the Academic Data Science Alliance. Dr. Parker is the founder and executive director of ADSA, the Academic Data Science Alliance, a community of leaders, practitioners, and educators who build and share resources for responsible data science in higher education. Before launching ADSA, Dr. Parker served as a program coordinator for the Moore Sloan Data Science Environments and an executive director for the University of Washington's eScience Institute, actually sharing an office with Sarah. She continues to hold the title of eScience Data Science Fellow, and she is a research scholar with the Ronan Institute for Independent Scholarship. Really looking forward to your comments, Micaela. Let's try to share your slides.
All right, let's see if I can do this.
And we're starting to get some questions in the chat. Please feel free whenever convenient. We'll curate those, and we still have dedicated time at the end for interactive discussion.
All
Looks
right.
good, Micaela.
Can you see? Great. Excellent. All right. So thank you, Meredith. And thank you to Eric and the organizers for inviting me to join the panel today. As Meredith noted, I'm Micaela Parker, Executive Director for the Academic Data Science Alliance. So as you also heard, we use the acronym ADSA. So what is ADSA, or the Academic Data Science Alliance? We are a community building organization that supports researchers and educators in their efforts to learn, use, and teach data-intensive methodologies and responsible applications. But you can think of us kind of as an emerging professional organization for academic data science. On the back end, we're a fiscally sponsored project of the nonprofit Hopewell Fund, and we're funded primarily by the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, the Gordon Betty Moore Foundation, and NSF. So today I'm going to tell you about our communities and activities, but if you want to learn more, I encourage you to visit, you can see my cursor, good. Visit our website. The URL is right here in the corner, academicdatascience.org. Okay, so I think it's useful to start with a little bit of history to understand our organization. ADSA has its roots really in a community that developed over several years as part of the Moore Sloan Data Science Environments, which was a partnership of 3 universities, New York University, University of Washington, and University of California, Berkeley, all funded by the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation and the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation. And that partnership was established in 2013 to really tackle the challenges of integrating data science in higher education. ADSA was launched in 2019 to expand that community, bring those conversations and the sharing of approaches and best practices, and the shared values of data science for everyone, built by everyone, to schools across the country. We are a supportive community. We value diversity, equity, inclusivity, and belonging, and we strive to work open and promote open knowledge exchange. So who is ADSA? Well, we're a very small staff. It's myself, Steve Van Tile is our community manager, Megan Atkinson is our program associate, and Tiana Curry is new to ADSA. She's our communications and community assistant. But we do have a lot of enthusiastic and energetic volunteers in our community who help us drive our activities. So to tell you a little bit more about our ADSA communities, at the highest level, you can think of ADSA as a community of all academic data scientists and academic adjacent colleagues in any discipline. Our annual meeting brings this community together to offer an opportunity for data-savvy researchers and educators to share and learn from each other. Unlike many conferences, the annual meeting doesn't focus just on one domain like pathology or an oceanography conference, nor does it focus on any one tool or programming language like R or Python. The annual meeting provides an opportunity to bring together the greater academic data science community to learn across domains and approaches and methodologies. And this is where I'm going to put in a shameless plug. I apologize to the organizers, but we do have our 2021 ADSA annual meeting coming up in November, and I wanted to highlight it to encourage any of you out there who might be interested in joining us. We will be in person in Savannah, Georgia, but there's also going to be a hybrid option. And we still have open our call for submissions. So there's 2 weeks remaining until the deadline. We're looking for breakout sessions, birds of a feather, panels. You could demo a tool, offer a tutorial, and of course, more traditional research talks to highlight innovative research workflows, projects, and results. So that's my reminder, deadline to submit, June 28th. But we also at ADSA have specific communities that we put extra effort into supporting, such as early career data scientists who are navigating their paths both in and out of academia. Our career development network is focused on providing resources for this group. The CDN, or Career Development Network, are self-governing with a small executive committee. And on this slide, I'm showing the members from 2020. They have staggered 2-year rotations. So Justin and Danny on the right have just rotated off, and we've welcomed Alex and Mariam onto the committee. Tiana Curry is also a member and helps to run the logistics of the network. As I said, the executive committee is fairly small, but they are responsible for defining the goals and activities of the network. And last year, they put together 4 themes around which the network would focus most of their activities. So they are going to look at connecting, so building an interdisciplinary community of collaborative researchers. They'll focus on sharing, so promoting knowledge and skill exchange, mentoring, creating mentorship relationships and opportunities, and funding, assembling interdisciplinary teams of members to jointly pursue competitive funding for collaborative research. And I just wanted to highlight this one example of a new activity that the CDN launched this year. This is a very well attended early career panel. This particular panel focused on data science careers in academia that are non-faculty positions. For this panel, we partnered with the US Research Software Engineer Association to provide an opportunity for audience members to hear more about what data scientists and research software engineers, what those career paths look like in academia, what are the skills expected of these positions, where and how do they seek the positions, and what to expect when working in these fields. And I list on the right here the panelists that were in that inaugural early career panel discussion, and you might recognize some of the names there. This is a hopefully somewhat quarterly event. So coming very soon, we're going to have our next career panel will focus on data scientists in biomedicine. And then around the August-September timeframe, we'll have another panel of data scientists in finance. ADSA also facilitates and supports a leadership community. So these are leaders of academic data science initiatives. Think directors of institutes and centers, chairs of departments, heads of programs, and faculty interested in creating new initiatives on their campuses. And this community, they get together to share best practices where they face similar challenges and opportunities and really take collective responsibility for preparing the next generation of data scientists to contribute to the best interests in society. Similar to our ATSA annual meeting, we get this group together on an annual basis. This is a photo from the Leadership Summit in 2019. Of course, all of our events, like everybody else, were virtual last year. And this is really a fantastic opportunity for leaders in the space to get together and have those frank conversations. This is a quote I pulled out of our post-event survey from that year. And I think as an event organizer, you can't really hope for a better response. I'll just read it. I did less reading of my email this week than at any conference in recent memory. So we're very proud of that. So now I want to tell you a little bit about the activities that ADSA focuses on. Most of these are addressing challenges in the data science community. I think we can all agree that one of the challenges that's forefront of mind for many of us is the issue of diversity in data science. And this quote that I have here at the top, we have a chance to get it right from the beginning, comes from my former boss and the founding director of the eScience Institute, Ed Lazowska, who's arguably one of data science's strongest advocates. What he meant by this quote is that the field he comes from, computer science, was dominated by white males, and the field continues to look very white and very male. But as a new field, data science can aim to be diverse and inclusive right from the beginning. There's certainly a lot of work to be done to achieve true meaningful diversity in our field. To this end, ADSA partners with EDSIN, which I have their logo here. This is the Environmental Data Science Inclusion Network, to advance the mission of increasing diversity, equity, and inclusivity. And I encourage you to visit their website and join their conversations in their Slack space. They're hosted on the CubesHub.org. Our own DEI efforts and other challenge areas in data science are organized around the SIG model. In other words, special interest groups and working groups. So we have 4 major special interest groups on education, ethics, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and open research and open scholarship. And these special interest groups bring together thought leaders in our community to tackle these pressing challenges throughout the year, rather than just meeting once a year at our annual events. Each of the special interest groups has multiple working groups below them. And these working groups are smaller, but they're also teams who are really committed from our community to build resources to tackle some of these challenges. So I've just listed a couple examples here on the slide that were more relevant to education. So one of our working groups is working on curating open data sets for data science education and research. Another one's called the Data Science Ethos Lifecycle, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that one in a moment. And then we have one focused on standardization and transparency in data science master's degrees. So the Data Science Ethos Lifecycle is focused on what many of you may be familiar with, the data lifecycle, which is a workflow that many data-driven researchers use to tackle their challenges, to begin problem solving. And it begins with problem identification, then goes to data discovery, and so on around the circle, many of these steps being iterative. Our working group is developing an interactive web tool with case studies to embed ethical and societal considerations at each step in the cycle by viewing the work through 4 conceptual lenses of power, positionality, narratives, and socio-technical systems. This tool was demoed earlier this week in this workshop, but I want to acknowledge the authors of this tool here. I won't read off their names, but you can see that this is a truly cross-institutional group with members from UC Berkeley, University of Virginia, and the University of Washington. And as I mentioned, this tool was demoed earlier this week. Here's the title of the workshop: Towards Social Justice in the Data Science Classroom, How to Teach with Human Context and Why It Matters. And I believe it was recorded. I don't know this for sure. Someone in the organizing committee can probably tell us. And so you should be able to go back and watch that. And if you just want to read more about the tool, I encourage you to visit data.berkeley.edu. So the last thing I just wanted to highlight is that we also support the Data Science Community Newsletter. This was a newsletter that started at NYU, but ADSA has now taken over fully supporting the writers and editors of this newsletter. If you are not already signed up to get the newsletter, I encourage you to do so, because this is a really in-depth, comprehensive coverage of all the data science news coming out, mostly in the world of academia, but also straddling research in other sectors. And finally, if any of the activities or communities that I've talked about today sound intriguing to you and you want to engage more, I encourage you to reach out. You can join our mailing list on our website. Here is for our monthly newsletter that just covers activities in and around ADSA and our community. So that's separate from the Data Science Community Newsletter, which is more a holistic view of all data science. We also have a very active Slack group, and of course, those special interest groups always can use more members. We have an events board and a jobs board on our website, and you can always follow us on social media. And lastly, I'll just mention that we've just launched a membership program. So like many professional societies, you're welcome to join us as an official member and add that to your professional society affiliations on your CV. And so to learn more about membership and the benefits, go ahead. Again, this is on our website, but I just shortened the URL here to make it easier to find. tinyurl.com, add some member. And that's all I have too. So I will stop my screen share. Please feel free to reach out with questions.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Micaela, for this update and the timely reminder of upcoming opportunities. Well done on that timing of the membership launch today. It's so wonderful to see the emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion, the early career on-ramps, and the long-term community building. The pathways that we've heard about from the last 3 speakers will continue on to be a theme for our final speaker. Last but not least, we have Dr. Belle Wei from San Jose State University. Dr. Wei is the founder of the Technology Pathways Initiative, which provides computing education to more diverse students in college through interdisciplinary computing education from campus to career. The Technology Pathways Initiative Alliance includes 5 industry partners and 6 universities, including UC Berkeley, UC Davis, UC Riverside, Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, San Francisco State University, and San Jose State. Dr. Wei is the Carolyn Guidry Chair in Engineering Education and Innovative Learning, and a former Donald Beale Dean of Engineering at San Jose State. Welcome, Belle. And your slides are ready to go. Wonderful.
Yes. Thank you, Meredith. Appreciate the opportunity to speak at this panel. I'm Belle, Kelly Engage Chair in Engineering Education, Innovative Learning. Today, I'd like to talk about the Technology Pathways Initiative. TPI is an initiative to diversify computing through interdisciplinary computing education. Here's the outline of my talk. First, I will describe what motivated us to create the TPI in the first place. This was done through a partnership between universities and industry from day one. Currently, the partnership consists of 5 industry partners and 6 universities. Next, I will provide you a brief update on the new programs on these 6 campuses, and also will describe the faculty development program, the annual Interdisciplinary Computing Summer Institute. In the end, I will talk about the TPI's next plan to expand to community colleges. As mentioned earlier, I served as an engineering dean and provost for 12 years. 6 years ago, I returned to classrooms. This is what my classrooms looked like. Something wrong with this picture. I was distressed. Where are the women students? They are in biology. Women account for 60% of biology majors. In comparison, they account for 20% of engineering and computer science majors and 40% of math and statistics majors. These are the percentages. Let's take a look at the number of graduates. In 2017, there were about 120,000 biology graduates and about 75,000 computer science graduates, shown in this red line here. So if we combine these 2 plots together, this is what we have. In 2017, we had about 72,000 women biology graduates and 15,000 women computer science graduates. So you can see here, this is about a ratio of 5:1. In other words, for every woman graduate in computer science, we had 5 women graduates in biology. So these numbers represent the supply side of STEM workforce. How about the demand side? We had opposite situation. In particular, for the decade ending in 2026, there are 65,000 job openings in life sciences versus 906,000 job openings in computer occupations. In other words, for every job opening in life sciences, there are 14 job openings in computer occupations. So if we put this supply and demand pictures side by side, this is what we have. You can see here, and this is a 70:1 mismatch. This is a big mismatch between supply and demand of women STEM graduates. So women are missing out on career opportunities big time. This is a huge problem, and I'm distressed. So our solution is to bring computing education to where women students are. This is the genesis of our TPI, an initiative to create new interdisciplinary computing degree programs. You can call this X plus CS or X plus data science minor or major degrees, in which computing or data science is embedded into the X field of study. If X is biology, then we'll have bioinformatics. If X is statistics, then we'll have data science, and so on. In short, TPI brings together university faculty and industry leaders, a university-industry partnership with the goal to provide computing education to more women in college through interdisciplinary computing education from campus to career. Here we aim to help students not only with their educational pathways, but also career pathways. Who are the TPI partners? We have 5 industry partners: Genentech, Intel, KLA, Salesforce, Xilinx. These companies in San Francisco, Silicon Valley region. Genentech is a leading biotech company. Intel, KLA, Xilinx, semiconductor companies, and Salesforce, a business software company. It is noted that Genentech supports the TPI as it is using data analytics and simulation more and more in its drug delivery. This is what they call laptop in addition to benchtop. We have 6 university partners: San Jose State University, San Francisco State, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, UC Berkeley, UC Davis, and UC Riverside. These are the 6 major public universities in California. San Jose State, San Francisco State, and UC Berkeley joined the TPI first, followed by the other 3 campuses. As a result, their programs are farther along and have already graduate students. This slide summarizes the domain areas of interdisciplinary computing degree programs at TPI universities. San Jose State has 2 programs, a bioinformatics minor degree and applied computing minor degree for behavior and social scientists, which is supported by NSF. Berkeley data science programs, San Francisco State computer applications minor for biology majors, UC Davis's quantitative biology major, Cal Poly's bioinformatics minor degree, and UC Riverside data science major degrees. So from this chart, you can see biology, social sciences, and data sciences are the major 3 domain areas. For San Jose State, minor in bioinformatics, 55% of its 118 students are women. For its applied computing for behavioral social sciences minor, 54% of their students are female and 37 are URM students. For San Francisco State's computer applications minor for biology majors called PINC, they call Promoting Inclusivity in Computing. I love this acronym. Here, 60% of their students are women and 53% are URM. So recently, it received a $1.3 million NSF grant to expand its PINC program to other majors. And as we know, Berkeley's success in data science is off the chart. And so its data 8 core class enrollment is capped at 1,300 students. And found out they had 1,051 majors. 48% of them are female. They just graduated 730 students this year. Just incredible. For UC Davis, in the process of developing new quantitative biology major, in the process, it has developed 3 on-ramp computing courses for non-CS majors. Cal Poly started its bioinformatics minor degree in fall 2019, and of its first cohort of 16 students, 10 are women. And UC Riverside created a new major in data science. It targets domain areas such as biology, astronomy, and economics. It had soft launch last year with 58 students admitted. As you can see from these new interdisciplinary degree programs, we have a higher percentage of women students than computer science. After describing these new academic programs, I'd like to share with you what we have done related to faculty development. Since 2017, we have hosted the annual Interdisciplinary Computing Summer Institute, ICSI, to bring together TPI faculty and industry professionals to share employment insights and best practices. In the process, we have fostered intra and inter-campus collaborations, as well as university industry partnership. So these are the photos from the 2019 ICSI. We had 33 faculty from 7 campuses and 8 industry professionals from 7 companies. These are the faculty from computer science, statistics, data science, biology, psychology, and economics. We discussed workforce preparation, teaching programming to non-computer science students, and assessment. There were small breakout sessions as well as plenary sessions. So this photo shows the 8 industry professionals from 7 companies: Google, Agilent, Bayer Pharmaceutical, Calico Life Sciences, part of the Alphabet Google company, Genentech, Agilent, Intel, and Guidewire Software, which is data analytics company for insurance industry. Can tell you, faculty love to interact with industry professionals and colleagues from different campuses. They found the meeting productive. This is the for last year's ICSI. So you can see here, in addition to industry professionals, we also invite alums working in areas in bio, data science, and user interface. As we develop these programs, especially minor degrees, we realized we have a problem. It turned out 40% of students come from community colleges. The students did not find out these new minor degrees till late in their junior year. Often it's just too late. So we need to initiate the community college expansion program. In particular, students in California's community colleges are more diverse than those in UCs and CSUs. They represent 51% of student population versus 28% at the UCs and 46% at the CSUs. Students are still discovering a path. In fact, their first 2 years in community colleges are a critical period for them as they plan their educational career pathways ahead. So we need to work closely with community colleges to motivate students and inform them of these wonderful new interdisciplinary computing degree programs. In the end, this is what I look forward to: a diverse group of graduates with broader career opportunities. These are San Francisco State's pink graduates. Hope you can join us to diversify computing through interdisciplinary computing education. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Belle, for sharing more about these initiatives. And we're already seeing in the chat how the data that you were just showing is sparking questions, and you've got some follow-up of people who want to partner for these programs. Wonderful. So this group is right on time, and we have 20 or so minutes reserved for some interactive Q&A. So everyone should feel free to type in the chat or in the Q&A tab. To get things started, I've prepared 1 or 2 questions while people gather their thoughts. One thing that struck me, having popped into the workshop over the past few days, is just this huge generosity of spirit in sharing best practices, reflections, and comparing notes across the different networks. We have hundreds of institutions and organizations participating this week, and I wonder for the panel, what you each see as a compelling opportunity that sort of is at the top of the list in thinking about this audience of hundreds of different institutions and organizations. We haven't planned a specific order, so anybody is welcome to start. Sarah, please.
I can, yeah, I can get the ball rolling. I think one of the things that I've been really struck by, and this comes to running the Data Science for Social Good program at UW, but then also engaging with these other programs across the country, is just the tremendous interest from students across many different disciplinary fields in engaging with data science, not because it's data science, but because it allows them to answer compelling questions that can have positive societal impact. And so I just think there's a real opportunity to engage with students who might not traditionally be drawn in to computer science or statistics, by the questions that we're posing and by understanding and explaining to students the role that data scientists can play, and I think just the vast array, as Belle was getting to, of career options for people who have some amount of training in these skill sets. And we get hundreds of applications from students, and this is true across all these programs, who really just want to use their skill set to do something meaningful and to impact their communities. And I know that's something that is really integrated in what you're doing, Talitha, and the student bodies that you're working with.
Any other thoughts from the panel in terms of inquiry-driven discovery, project-based learning, insights to share from your efforts so far?
I was going to go in a completely different direction, so I'm going to wait to see.
Well, I know you
anybody else
and inquiry-driven discovery, but Belle or Talitha, did you want to add on to that at all before we switch gears?
This year's been a bit challenging, right? So I started in August, so I still have yet to meet my staff face to face. I ran into one on Peachtree Street randomly while she was walking her dog, but I haven't met the faculty face to face. So I mean, we're just in these unprecedented times, and I feel for the faculty who've had to do a hard shift, a hard reset to figure out how to do this teaching in the COVID environment and to make it work. And they've all hung in there, and the students hung in there too. We had a data science challenge this past spring that looked at child sex trafficking, where they analyzed and looked at social data, like Facebook data, to figure out like what sort of posts would like actually, help you find the child that's being sex trafficked, or how do you make those connections? What actually works, what doesn't work, which resonated with our students, because if 57.5% of all juvenile prostitution arrests are Black children, and 40% of sex trafficking victims are identified as Black women. And for our student populations, which is primarily African American, primarily African American, this really resonates with them. They can look at a problem, they see their family or their peers or their community that can be impacted, and they can actually use data science to make a difference in their communities. And that's really where we want to position our students, is we want to equip them with going out and being the leaders in their communities and really solving some of these really hard problems.
That really echoes what Jerry shared yesterday in terms of providing a meaningful example, whether it's the upcoming institutional COVID vaccination policy or something else. When I worked in DC, someone said, the data, it starts to matter when it's like your grandmother's trash can or this specific, concrete thing that matters to you. Micaela, I know you've spent quite a bit of time in building up ADSA and having these social impact projects and the themes of responsible data science woven in. Does that tee you up for your comment, or we can just totally switch gears on what you wanted to say?
Well, I was thinking more from the perspective of the opportunity that you were mentioning at the first question, where you were talking about this huge audience that we have attending this workshop. And I think I was being much more philosophical and high level in my thinking, and in that I'm not sure that data science has defined itself yet. And I think in some ways that's an opportunity, right? So to tie that back to social justice and racial justice, this is an opportunity for us to craft this field with bringing in disciplines, not just computer science plus statistics, but the humanities, the social sciences, the people who are impacted, and have those communities represented in the development of data-driven products. So I think the opportunity is to really think holistically about what is data science, and even come up with a philosophy for the field. I don't think that exists yet. I've been having conversations with leaders at data science institutes or data science programs, and there is no definition of data science. There's no philosophy for the field, and that almost does the students a disservice, because there are programs that are cobbled together, computer science and statistics classes, and this somehow makes a data science degree. And without some kind of cohesiveness or something binding those together, some vision, it's difficult for a student to know how to define themselves then, or what they're expected to get out of a degree at the end. So I think we're in the very early stages of defining the field, and it's an opportunity for us all to really put some thought toward that.
We have a chance to do it right, to echo Ed's.
Can I answer that? I was actually challenged by one of my colleagues who attended a seminar. I won't say who the presenter was. He was like, I need somebody to define data science for me. Oh my goodness. And I'm coming to your talk. Okay, fine. So this was my at least my framing of data science. It was that the goal of data science is the extraction of useful information from a data set. Now we can go into a spiral to figure out what is data, but I said data is like in mathematics, the word set. It's an undefined term. We know it's in the data once you tell me what the data is, right? So in mathematics, we have undefined terms. You have to tell me what it is so I know what it is. It's the whole axiomatic structure. So from my mathematical mind, I'm okay with a little bit of the ambiguity, but I'm not sure if the other fields share that same level of ambiguity. But I think that's also part of the fun with this. If you have this stuff, this data, whatever that is, what sense can you make of it? And there are so many different ways you can explore it. And at the moment, there's really no right or wrong way to do it. It's what can you pull that really stays true to the data set, to what you're looking at, and doesn't really veer off in whatever the wrong direction is. But at least that's my humble take on it.
And that theme of, the creativity and the iteration and evolution seems echoed with the question that we have in the chat from Julia Kaczynski. Julia asks that about integrating data science with scientific reasoning, explanation, falsification, abductive reasoning for STEM and non-STEM majors in intro data science courses. Any thoughts on that intersection? It seems actually to align with some of Belle's slides and bringing together different curricula from STEM and non-STEM. Belle, do you have any thoughts on that?
So our plan, as part of our outreach to community colleges, our plan is to embed data science and programming into existing statistics and biology courses. Okay, for instance, intro biology may not cover bioinformatics, so we can create a few modules, bioinformatics modules and coded in Python for instructors to use. And similarly for statistics, and we have a statistics course which is required by basically all non-STEM majors. That's part of a general education requirement. And so instead of some commercial software tools, why don't we, create some computing tools coded in Python? And so students can, explore that data sets, get exposure to programming, and also gives opportunity to say, hey, you're interested in doing this, even you're a psychology major or economics major, but there are more opportunities for you, at four-year universities. Yeah.
And Monty McGee has a question about career trajectories. This is starting from, Belle, your initial graphic, so certainly opportunity to follow up there, but maybe to broaden it up and encourage others on the panel to also chime in. Any thoughts about institutions that you're working with or groups that are drawing students from diverse backgrounds into professional career tracks with a real wide net, whether it's bioinformatics, as Mani mentions here, or others? It seems to be a theme around the chat on embedding and interfacing across traditionally siloed professional schools, departments, and so forth.
And at least for me, that's been a challenge. I'm across 4 institutions, and each institution has their own, structure and their own culture and their way of doing things. So how do we build programs that are across 4? That's not an easy endeavor. But when we go back and forth and talk these ideas through, we actually end up with something a lot more well thought out. It's a path that's way more bumpy and has a lot more obstacles than probably if I had one institution or maybe if I was in one department. But who knows, right? Academics, we're kind of crazy in that way. It's so unpredictable. But I do like the idea. So our data science really is across all disciplines, and we encourage data science. It's not just math, CS. Actually, I'm working on getting more STEM folks in it, but it really, we have a huge active participation from those in the humanities and social sciences and so on. But getting this buy-in, I know somebody put in the chat, how do you have any thoughts or resources in enhancing courses? Our data science initiative, we actually fund the mini grants to actually get people to develop new modules or to develop new courses. So we would like to see that. But we also we rest on the strength of our presidents and their words and their vision for enhancing data science across the institution. And there's a little bit of buy-in, and hey, this is cool. It won't cost you anything. Just let us try this out and let's see if it works. So if there's I found if there's a minimization of a cost burden or zero, a minimization of it won't cost your colleagues anything if they just kind of sit back and watch and see what's going on, things can move forward. It's the moment you start asking people to do stuff and you expect them to do it, that it can get a little wonky. Obviously, you'll have your champions, and I rest on those. But there are some people that are just, stretched really thin, in particular right now, that you just kind of let them come when they can, sort of thing. But you'd be surprised that there are some champions at schools at different levels. You just kind of have to find them, and don't stop at the ones who don't want to be, or who can't at the moment for whatever reason engaged in it, in curriculum development or enhancements.
Persistence and evolution, indeed. Typing in their comments, you don't have simple questions. You are definitely wanting to know all of these deep thoughts. We have limited time, so I think for some of these very specific questions, they'll still be up on the chat, and so we can follow up. I think we'll do one more and then wrap up so folks have lunch. But this is really great to see the excitement from all the different participants. And please feel free if you see anything you directly want to comment in to add to the chat. So to wrap up for our lightning round, I'm curious if we think forward to next year. Obviously, 2020-21 is just such a challenging, as you said, Talitha, environment. But if we fast forward to 2025, what progress do you hope to see in data science education at the regional and national global scales that your initiatives operate at? You can totally feel free to take a pessimistic or optimistic view. We are all practitioners here. Please be honest on what you think 2025 might hold for data science education. Micaela, would you like to start?
Sure. I think I'll just come back a little bit to what I said earlier, that I hope the field evolves and defines itself in a way that is inclusive and considers all of the ethical and social justice elements that people are kind of talking about in little silos. For me, a real success would be to see formal curricula, whether it be an undergraduate degree or a master's degree, for data science that always includes those elements and includes them in a really thoughtful way, not just like an add-on seminar, on ethics, but, that thinking that it's embedded, the critical thinking, the ethical thinking is embedded in each of the courses, and that the students come out with those skills in every case.
That was very close to what I was going to say, Micaela. You can tell we worked together for years. But I guess I would, and building on that I think it would be wonderful to show students and to create programs in which students can use that and get integrated into working directly with stakeholder communities where they can have a meaningful impact. And I think that in and of itself is a separate kind of training that we need to provide our students. Like, that's often the hardest part, right? Is building trust between communities and understanding what the community actually really needs, rather than what you as a researcher might be interested in, or what using the newest cool tool. And I think those are really important things to train our students in. And I think that again feeds into really creating these interdisciplinary teams that are working in data science, which addresses some of those other questions of how we diversify the discipline.
Should I go next? So I used to be at NSF, where I managed the data science portfolio for the IUS program, Improving Undergraduate STEM Education. So I got to see what was happening with data science at a national scale. And now, as my colleagues remind me, now I'm on the other side where I'm actually implementing, and as they say, I'm doing the work, right? Yeah, whatever that means. But it goes back to Julia's comment in the chat is, which is a really interesting question. How do we teach the data science, with what methodologies, with what modalities? How do we know that we're teaching the concepts in a way that resonates and that really does develop and build thinking? How should we teach it? Where should we teach it? When? And what classes? How should it look? Early on, this is pre-NSF. When I was at the Park City Math Institute, where we wrote the curriculum guidelines for data science. And when I came back, I said, data science in my mind was just like this writing across the curriculum. So we had all this writing across the curriculum that all higher education institutions went through as a big wave. And in my mind, I was like, well, it's data science across the curriculum, because what does data science not touch? And so I would actually envision that we would have some sort of data science across the curriculum that's equivalent to writing across the curriculum. In a way, I don't think that math really permeated everything. I think people wanted math to do that. As a mathematician, I can say math really doesn't do it in the way that data science does. So when I see data science across the curriculum, and then to Julie's point, I see that we actually develop and beef up how we do the pedagogy, how we do the curriculum, how we do the teaching of data science. And we actually have some generated best practices on what can work and what cannot work. And then the third part, one thing that I give pause on in particular, I don't know why, I mean, I'm worried about it in undergrad, but for kids, I'm worried about it, I think, more in K through 12, because kids, the frontal lobe is still developing, is how do we handle these sensitive topics in data science when you get to ethics and bias, when you start looking at race and gender, and you have kids coming in, college and K through 12 coming in from all facets. How do we equip teachers to be able to handle those discussions in a way that's socially, morally responsible, all the leads responsible, and also that doesn't inflict undue harm or trauma onto the student that they're trying to teach? So that would be the third part that really I haven't figured out how we handle that piece of equipping teachers around those hard topics. So that's kind of where I would like to see us to have some of those issues resolved by then. And then, by then Julia will tell us, how she did the integrating data science with scientific reasoning. I'm really curious about that.
Yes. Talitha pretty much summarized what I want to say. Basically, it's data science across curriculum. That's right. My dream is all college students learn data science in the same way they learn English. They take the English classes. And that's one. The other one, this is related to our relationship with the industry, is really like industry to create more internships, more for data science graduates, okay? Because the industry partners we talk to, they say, well, this is something new, really don't know what is right? It's safer for us to hire computer scientists, okay? So just, I think that's a very important conversation, but that conversation definitely we are determined to push.
Well, thank you to all the panelists and to the folks participating this week for the hard work to support a more thoughtful, inclusive future for data science and the community and networks around it. I'm not at all surprised with this panel and the engagement from this week that we are embracing those hard topics and questions, to Talitha's points saying that, we haven't figured this out yet. And this is a theme from the national workshop that we continue to see 4 years on, which is just so special to hear the call for responsible data science, the need for systemic change, who's missing at the table, and keep pushing on those hard questions. So with that, I'll thank everyone, encourage folks to continue the conversation. For the next hour, we have a networking lunch in the networking tab to the left, and then we'll jump back into afternoon sessions with a focus on technology for teaching at 1:30 p.m. Pacific. Thank you so much.
Meredith.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Wonderful tea.
Talitha.